afternoon, everybody. My name is Karla, and you've reached my FlossTube channel, KarlaBeingCrafty, where I talk about crochet and cross-stitch and other crafts that I enjoy, mostly involving yarn and floss and needles and fabric and all that kind of stuff. So today is FlossTube number 298. It is Sunday, September 14th. I want to say welcome if this is your first time finding my channel. I hope that you like what you see. Want to hit like and subscribe and all that good stuff. And if this is not your first time finding my channel, then thank you so much for coming back and sharing this time with me. Delilah is here. Come on, don't do something rude. Look cute. Yes. She's sitting up here. Right before I turned on the camera, I was using my little yarn ball winder here, and she loves watching it. So actually I saved a little tiny piece of yarn to see. She's so cute watching it, and I thought you guys might enjoy watching her watch it. Delilah. Yeah, look. You want to see it? Go around and around? Now she's looking at me like I'm absolutely nuts. Oh well. Never work with children and animals. Isn't that what W.C. Field said? They will upstage you every time. Anyway, so I was just finishing doing my winding of my scrap yarn, and she was enjoying it. I kind of was waiting a little bit today to do my filming because my roommate was going out. She's a hair appointment, and her daughter came to pick her up, and I was kind of waiting for her to leave. Again, I've talked about this before. Not that it's a problem filming with somebody else in the house. It feels a little weird, and I have to worry more about, if she turns on the TV or if she gets a phone call or that kind of thing, because this is a small place and you can hear assorted noises if somebody else is doing anything. If Sammy barks, and she's being really quiet right now, so that's good. Anyway. So yeah, it's 12:40 on Sunday, and I waited a little bit to film. So I figured I'd get that little chore out of the way of winding up some of my scrap yarn for my knitting machine. Yeah, that's where we are. So this week the weather has cooled off quite a bit. To the extent that it's been comfortable. I've actually used a light blanket at night instead of lying in bed and being awake and sweaty. So that is nice. The temperature's supposed to go up in the middle of next week, but it also is forecasting a storm. So I don't know if we're going to have one of those like heat electrical storm type things, but the weather has definitely come down. It didn't approach the 90s at all, which is good. This past week, and I think that it shows because I have actually quite a bit more to show you than I have in the last couple weeks, which just goes to show that the weather does affect my comfort level and my energy and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I don't have very much like life stuff to talk about, so let's just get into what I worked on this week. I actually have two needlecraft projects. I say needlecraft because neither one of them is cross stitch. I actually have a quill embroidery finish and a needlepoint finish to show you. So that's exciting. So the first one to show you is that I finished this rose tapestry needlepoint. This was just a little kit by Collection d'Art needlepoint tapestry kit. This was the packaging it came in. I think I got this from 123 Stitch. I just really was drawn to it just because it was really, I think, well done. I think it's really, really pretty, and it was done with a cotton, not really floss, but it's like a heavier than floss cotton, pearl cotton, I guess. And I really like how it turned out. I went to go look for a frame for it last night and realized I don't have any 5x7 frames. I have 4x6, several of those, and bigger ones. I didn't have a 5x7, so I did order a really cheap one off of Amazon, which should be coming today. I just got like a plain black frame. In the meantime, I think I do need to block it. It's not very out of It's not very warped, but just maybe a tiny bit. So I'll see when the frame gets here what it looks like in the frame, if it looks like it needs to be blocked or not. But I did finish that and enjoyed it quite a bit, to be honest. So it was nice to pick up the needle and floss again. And then I finished my butterfly window vintage vintage embroidery. So this is the one that I finished this week. This is by Jiffy Stitchery from the 70s. This is the second one in the series that I finished. So this is the first one. And then I finished this one. And there's two more. The only change I made on this was in the little white like daisies down here. They were supposed to have the orange centers too, and I just brought in a little bit more of the purple because I wanted a little extra purple. So this one didn't have, this one has this fern stitch which sticks out, and this I think this is called turkey stitch. I think it has a couple different names, and it is a stitch that you can snip and make it like carpety, or you can leave it loopy like that. This one doesn't have that kind of stitch. It had French knots and lazy daisies mostly as far as the specialty stitches. So those are my two finishes this week, but I feel super accomplished. I really do. And it kind of led me to something else that I'll discuss with you in a little bit. Some plans, let's say. Okay, so crochet. I worked on 3 crochet projects this week, and actually I started a new one, and then worked on 2 whips. So the one I started, which is not going to be all that exciting to look at, I don't think, yet. I am doing, this is a free pattern, free chart by that I found on Hobby or Hobby. Every time I see anybody talk about this company, they say it both ways. Nobody seems to know if it's Hobby or Hobby, but it's this. It's the Cosmos blouse. It's supposed to be done with Universe, regular Universe, not Universe XL, which is a size 1 yarn, which I'm not used to working with, but I did get some. It was on sale, and this was part of the yarn that I said was kind of like my birthday present from Dawn Frisch. So this is the colorway I'm using. This is Universe color 5. I'm gonna have to remember to write down the colors because they're not on the ball bands. They're on the website, but on the band you just get the number. But anyway, this is the one I'm using, and you can see it's pretty fine of a yarn. It is a 1. Yeah, super fine actually is what it's categorized as. And so I'm using a size 4 crochet hook. I'm using one of my new hooks, the resin flower ones, and didn't get very far, but this is where I'm at. So this is gonna be a top-down top, and I'm trying to trust the process. This seems a little bit small, but it comes up to size 5X, but they all start the same. It's just how far you go before you join the underarm, basically. So I guess it considers that everybody's neck and head is about the same. I guess it's right. This will fit around my neck. So, and as you can see, it's a very open weave sort of thing. So I started it with a foundation single crochet chain instead of just a regular chain. Because it's so small, I was having trouble seeing just the regular chain, and I thought doing a single crochet foundation chain would make it easier to do the second row. and make sure it wasn't twisted, which I think I was right about. So it took longer to do that initial row, but I think it was a good decision. And I think that the Universe yarn and the Universe XL yarn are just so beautiful. Just so beautiful. So of course the second whip that I worked on is the top that I'm doing with the Universe XL, which I think is funny because, you know, they're calling it Universe XL, meaning it's so much bigger than the Universe, which it is because it's a size 3 instead of a size 1, but it's still not that thick of a yarn. But this is what I'm using. This one is actually called Galactic, and it is number 14. And you guys have seen this top several times already. And right now I'm working on this bottom band, which is a crochet rib, meaning that you just crochet in the back loops and just go back and forth and back and forth. My edge is a bit wavy, which is an issue of counting and losing stitches and then putting them back out in. I am choosing to not worry about it. It is what it is. It's going to be pretty. The rib is not a quick process, but I don't know, I'm like a third done, I guess. And I will be excited to wear this when I at last get it finished. As you can see, I have been kind of excited about doing the wearables, and each thing I do, I feel is like a learning curve. Nothing is going to be perfect, and maybe that's okay because they're handmade. Maybe they don't need to be perfect for a while. Okay, and then the last thing I worked on, the last very imperfect thing I worked on, was this t-shirt top that I am making with Lion Brand Mandala yarn in the color Doxy. And you haven't seen this one for a while, but I pulled it back out and continued to work on it. I added a little bit of the double crochet, the regular double crochet, to the sleeves. So I got to the point where I stopped the joined or linked double crochet. I'm not sure what the actual name for it is. So I got to the point down at the bottom where I could just start the regular crochet, which double crochet, which I felt would give kind of like a lacy accent to the bottom of the top and the edge of the sleeves. And I think it does. I think it looks good. So I ended up putting 6 rows of, I think 6, 6 or 7. I don't know. Somewhere between 6 and 8 rows of double crochet on the sleeves. And to do that, I had to use another ball. So I had 2 more cakes of the Doxy, and they were both wound differently than the original 2 that I used. The original 2 that I used started at like the orangey yellow and ended with the green or the dark brown. The 2 that I had, I don't know, they were set up differently so that the purple, which would be the next color that I was coming to, was in the middle. So I had to kind of pull out the middles of both of the cakes that I had, and one of them I used to do the edge, do the sleeve, excuse me. So I went through the purple and then and then the blue color, and then into the sort of turquoisey color. And then at the bottom, I finished the yellow in the new cake and started in the purple. And I think when I get to the end, which will be the green, I think that it will be long enough and I won't need to go back into like then the browns and the yellows again. But we'll see when we get there. Now you will notice when I hold this up that this looks kind of wavy in the middle. This was me, I guess, not 100% trusting the process. When I first started this top, I was just so afraid it wasn't gonna fit or it was gonna be tight in the bust. So I added some stitches, and then I got to the point where I felt like, okay, I've closed it under the arms and everything. Now it's gonna be huge and it's gonna like look like a maternity top. So I started doing some decreases, with the inevitable result being that I got sort of this blousiness that's gonna happen like right across here. I tried it on and I don't mind it. I toyed with the idea of frogging it back and you know, so I didn't have quite as big of a gore and then not doing any decreases. And I thought, you know what, let's just leave it. Let's just, I didn't trust the process originally of just letting it be straight and thinking that it would fit. So let's just trust the process that goes now. And yeah, so it might be a little bit blousy or a little bit like wavy in the middle here on the body, but I don't think it's going to be terrible. And you know, again, it's a learning curve type thing. So I think it's turning out really cute. I do like the yarn. I like the way it feels. I like the way switching to the double crochet instead of the link double crochet. I like the way it looks, like all of a sudden it's lacier, but it's past the point where you would see my bra or anything like that. And I like that. So I think it's gonna be cute. You know, and again, a learning curve sort of thing, or a learning lesson in making these garments. I think it's a garment I would make again. Maybe next time I won't feel the need to add a gore here, or if I do add, only maybe doing it to here instead of to here, you know? But anyway, that is the third crochet piece that I worked on this week. And I feel like this is really close to getting to a finish. The regular double crochet as opposed to link double crochet goes a lot faster, it feels like. So I think that this could be finished sooner rather than later. I don't say that about the other top because the ribbing is really slow. Okay, so that was like everything I worked on this week, which was more than the last couple weeks. So I do feel like a little bit of a renewed crafty bug. Yeah, so I'm excited about that. Now, that brings me to haul and to sort of the new thing that I have in my head of what I want to try. So, I was enjoying doing this embroidery so much last weekend. This is crewel embroidery. The difference between saying regular embroidery and crewel embroidery is supposed to use wool yarns. And you can see in here that the majority of the yarns that are used are wool. They're a fuzzier yarn as opposed to like a embroidery floss. They're a definite yarn. And crewel embroidery yarn is a specific thing. I remember growing up, my mom did a lot of crewel embroidery. You know, that is what is used. Now, as I said, these are vintage kits. They're from the 70s. And so I went online to see, do they have crewel embroidery kits now? And I looked dimensions and I looked whatever. There's not that many crewel embroidery kits that you can buy. There are a few dimensions kits, even modern ones. They're fairly expensive. you know, depending. I mean, everybody has a different idea of what's expensive. They're more expensive than what in my head I wanted to purchase at that time. And they're bigger. One of the things I kind of liked about these kits are these are, you know, this is like a 2 or 3 day project, really, like on a weekend when I'm gonna work on it for several hours. They don't take that long, so, you know, and it was just a little bit addictive to get it done. Now, saying that, what I got doesn't really, you know, doesn't work with that idea of like I wanted something quick. But so anyway, I went looking for embroidery kits. I was looking on Amazon because I had some Amazon points, so I had some like free money, if you will. And I came across a couple different types of things. So I got these 2 kits, which I feel are more true, you know, like the kits that I have. Although again, they're all done with floss; they're not done with yarns. But I got these 2 floral kits. Thought they were cute. Nothing in here looks too difficult. It's mostly like satin stitch and French knots and stem stitch, all the kind of stuff that I'm familiar with. And I really especially liked this one. I just thought that was really pretty. So I got those to do sort of a true like embroidery kit, and I believe that the pattern on these is on the fabric already, just like the other ones. But then I came across many projects which, after looking at reviews and everything, I feel are probably, the pictures anyway, are probably AI. And the picture on the kit is not something that is necessarily going to be achievable by what's in the kit or by thinking that you know how to do embroidery, because honestly, this is not just embroidery. This is needle painting, and needle painting is its own thing. It is a type of embroidery, but it's something that I've kind of wanted to dabble in. So I decided to accept the AI, except that the kit that I'm getting is sort of the very basics and is not anything that you would recommend to somebody else, because it's, so basically I bought these, you know, with my points to get the pattern and some of the floss. I don't think that they give you enough floss to create this either, but I have a whole cabinet of DMC and it's gonna give me a jumping off point. So I got 4 of them. They're all cats. So I got this one. I got these 2 first because they were a set. And again, it's basically, you know, straight stitches, but the fur and everything, that's needle painting. And I've looked up needle painting. I've read a couple blogs on it. Needle painting is basically the shading to make it really look like fur. And these kits are not going to give you any kind of instruction on how to do that. And I think the problem with these kits is, like, if as a beginner you're like, oh, I want to do embroidery, and you get this kit and then you get this very minimal sort of pattern. So with these also, they come with black fabric. Here's, see, it's all floss. Comes with black fabric that you put in your hoop, and then this is the pattern that then you stick on top of the black fabric, and you stitch on this, and then you soak it and this dissolves. So this is the pattern. That isn't gonna help you much making this unless you know how to do needle painting. Do you understand what I'm saying? So I do believe that these are kind of like AI sort of kits that I wouldn't recommend to anybody who didn't kind of already know what they were getting into, or, you know, what they were getting in for, kind of thing. Now it does have instructions. It does say, okay, use this color here and that color there. You know, satin stitch, 10th color, 2 strands, satin stitch, but the blending and all that kind of stuff, I just don't think that the pictures and what they give you, like even the eyes, let me see. Yeah, the eyes are like very blended colors, and they tell you to do one color. You do one color, it's not going to look like that, right? That's not blending it. So I think that they're kind of very misleading. If you don't already have the knowledge to do this, then I think you'll be really disappointed. And I think that the problem is, the big problem with that whole AI thing is that it's not very encouraging. You're going to get this if you aren't prepared and try and do it and follow the instructions, and it's not going to look anything like this. And you're going to think that it's your fault, right? You're going to think I have crap talent and, you know, whatever. So I'm going into these with an open mind, knowing that what the materials I've given and the instructions I've been given are not going to make it look like this, that I'm going to have to go beyond this kit and learn, watch videos, teach myself needle painting, shading techniques. I'm going to have to pull many more colors of floss. You know, if it has just one color here, but it looks like it goes into a darker color below there, that darker color I'm going to need to pull because they're not providing it. Anyway, to learn the needle painting. So as I said, these two came as a kit with one hoop. I mean, the hoop situation is fine because I have plenty of these. And in fact, I have a couple extra hoops from these other kits that somebody gave me that, not that one. So I have an extra hoop anyway, but then these two I got because these two kit ones are very cute, but they're orange cats, and I don't have an orange cat. I've never had an orange cat. So I got the other two that looked a little bit more like Delilah. Not exactly like Delilah, but a little bit more like Delilah. So I got this one and this one, which kind of looks the most like Delilah, but even that isn't perfect. She doesn't have quite that much weight on her. So, we're gonna see if I can do this. I'm trying to decide which one to start with. And I'm thinking, honestly, I'm thinking about starting with this one because I think it looks, not that it looks easy at all, but I don't know. I just think that, I don't know. This is the one that I'm being drawn to start. And I like the flowers on this. I like the flowers on these better than the flowers on these two. But I can always change colors of the flowers too. I don't know. What do you guys think? Should I start with that one or should I start with one of these two? I like this cat a lot too. So either this one or this one, I think, is what I'm going to start with. I don't know. But yeah, so I think that, you know, I am gonna try that. I think it's just one of those things I'm gonna have to just jump in. Like, honestly, I don't even think that there's like something I could practice on because I'm just gonna have to jump in and see how it goes as far as working with the materials and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, that is the endeavor that I'm planning on starting the next new thing. So I will just add to my repertoire of things I've tried needlepointing on top of embroidery and needlepoint and CrossStitch. So I might start one of those this week and just see how it goes. So my plans basically possibly start one of those, work on the crochet that I've got going, maybe pull out the knitting machine and making something, but I don't know what exactly. As far as like a garment for myself, I kind of like want to wait on that. But I could make another hat for Hanukkah because I have the yarns for that, just to, you know, do something on the knitting machine today. I pretty much work on the knitting machine only on the weekend just because it's in my room, and it just, the physicalness of it, and where it requires me to be and how long it takes. It's not really a, oh, do it for an hour in the evening kind of thing. So yeah, so that's basically what's been going on in the week. As I said, I'm really happy that I got a little bit more crafting in this week and a little bit more crafting with my needles and threads instead of just the crochet. I realized that, first of all, there's always a complaint, right? The weather cooled off, which is great, but then because the weather is changing and I've been doing a lot of stuff with my hands, I had a couple days where my hands were really painful, arthritis wise. So I have my little pressure gloves that I was wearing at work one day. They feel fine now, but I have to be aware of that especially because if I'm working on one type of craft, it affects different muscles. So if I'm crocheting a lot, they'll hurt one way. The needlepoint was making it hurt in a different way. You know, different crafts kind of hurt in different ways. So I just have to be aware to, you know, be kind to my hands, do hand exercises, do hand massage, that kind of thing. But I think that is about it for today. Not a super long video, but again, you know, I'm pretty pleased with my output this week. And I am, you know, looking forward to trying something new maybe this week. I also have this kit that I just saw sitting on my desk that is embroidery, but this is on organza. That might be fun to try. So I will put this right here with my other stuff that I want to kind of try in the near future, and maybe pull out one of my cross-stitch projects and see if there's anything that I can get working on that maybe I can get a finish on something cross-stitch before the end of the year too. But anyway, I hope you guys had a great week. I hope that the weather is nice for you wherever you are. It's so funny because when I watch different floss tubers and stuff who are all over the country, it's so funny to hear different, like, oh, it's getting to be fall weather and it's cooling off, and I'm like, well, it's cooled a little bit here, but I wouldn't call it fall weather. It's still in the 80s. But then again, we're supposed to have a storm next week, so who knows? It's just interesting, you know. But it was nice that I got to actually, you know, sleep under a blanket the last week, in a blanket that I crocheted. So that was kind of cool too. Anyway, I hope you guys have a great week. And until I see you again, please remember to be content, be kind, and be crafty. This is Karla. Bye-bye.